Greetings and welcome to Mullah versus Allah. I began this show to present the theological, political, social contradictions clerical systems pose against the religion whose main essence was basically to spread peace upon earth. When religions begin, millions flock to believe in the message they bring along. Initially because it is a message of peace and tolerance. Throughout time, religions have fallen victim to clerical institutes, mullahs, clerics, that control the financial systems and then start bringing their own brand of religion. As a graduate of the Islamic seminary, myself and a third-generation imam, I find it extremely important that we discuss certain issues that many want silenced. Many people try to close these topics, and we are here to open them. My guest today is a renowned author. He published a book by the name of The Tragic Illusion of an Islamic State, where he provides clear-cut evidence that there is no legitimate reason or backing for any Islamic government. Maybe that's because the Prophet Muhammad never really had a government. His second book clearly explains that the Jew is not my enemy as a Muslim. And his forthcoming book is The Hindu is not my enemy. Joining me today is Tarek Fatah. Tarek Fatah, greetings.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for coming. Thank you very much. It's an absolute honor.
You are treading in very, very dangerous waters, you know that.
Well, yes, I do. We both are. This show will obviously be very well known for having no formalities whatsoever, no political correctness. We'll speak in a way that the heart will accept. And I believe that we are heading towards a time where the truth is being utilized in order to spread falsehood, and everybody is literally lying to everybody else.
It's not just that. I think truth today has been transformed into hate speech.
Right.
So anytime somebody speaks the truth, and by truth I mean someone saying what they sincerely believe and without any malice towards anyone, they will be objected to. I'm talking as Muslims. There are far more non-Muslims in this world than our community, and but we are fast developing into a community that is hated. I've just seen statistics from Europe which suggests that in Finland, of all the places, 61% of the population hates Muslims.
Wow.
In Britain, it's 43%. It's close to 50%.
Right.
And all over Europe, the average is 43%.
Right, and that would be understandable because of everything that's happening.
Because of our actions.
Right.
And that is why I really like the title of your show, because while I was in India last year, I spent about 7-8 months, I kept repeating again and again and again to the Indian Muslim community. And the reason I bring the Indian Muslim community plus the Pakistanis, who have almost written them off, is they are the only people who take their prime identity not from the land where they belong, but from the religion. So an Iranian is an Iranian. He will celebrate or she will celebrate Nowruz without hesitation, whether he's a mullah or whether he's a Marxist, right?
Right, right.
In Turkey, there's a Turkish identity. The Arabs have a distinct identity, as do the Indonesians. When you come to the Indian subcontinent Muslims, they don't have an identity. So they cling on to false identities of being fake Arabs.
Right.
Their headdresses have disappeared. The hijab that was never there for 1,000 years has replaced the dupatta and the pallu of the sari.
And the burqa has been introduced.
Burqa has been reintroduced
niqabs,
in a frightening manner. And instead of moving forward, but even in the oppression of Iran, Iranians are moving forward because of one can check by the translation of the books that come to Iran.
Right.
Every Western philosopher has been interpreted and translated and gone there. And we are still stuck in killing people,
Right.
hanging them, burning Christian villages, hunting down Hindus. Not a single Hindu lives in, for example, the holiest Hindu city of Lahore. Ram's son's city. Love has no. It's like Makkah having no Muslims.
Wow.
So, in that area, I said this clashes between Allah's Islam and Mullah's Islam. And people would say, so what's the difference? And I said, Islam for me starts with Tawheed. There were Muslims before there was a Quran.
The concept of belief in God.
Belief in the oneness.
Yeah,
and
monotheism.
on that, people, a human being will not submit to another human being. The only one you'll submit to is the Creator, however you envisage him.
Right.
And this is where the mullah comes in and says, no, I will tell you what to believe, because even though the Quran's last verse says, today I have completed
Your religion.
your religion for you,
Yes.
they've taken the last verse and put it in somewhere in the middle
Yes.
and then written the entire Sharia after the Prophet had died,
Right.
and during the Umayyads' time, when the enemies of the Prophet, that is Abu Sufyan and the Umayyads, made Islam a dynasty.
Yes. It transformed from being a succession of prophethood to kingship.
From imamship.
Yes.
So the successor to the Prophet didn't have to be a ruler.
Right.
He had to be a moral, ethical
religious
symbol of truth, of dignity, of simplicity, of speaking only when required,
Correct.
not manipulating the truth. And it turned into the most horrific form of oppression of Muslims by Muslims, because not a single caliph ever came back to Mecca or Medina.
Yes.
They ran away to Damascus and Baghdad, where there were streams of rivers
Right.
and Zoroastrian and Christian women to wed.
Right. So,
I'm
clearly-
sorry I'm digressing.
No, very beneficial. But
yeah.
clearly, we do have a massive problem within the very start of the spread of this religion after the death of Prophet Muhammad. And
We changed the Quran.
clearly, we did, and I really like a statement that you said in one of your speeches. In fact, it was you gave a speech regarding the M103 motion
Yes.
that was raised within Canada, and within that speech, you said a statement that I really like. You said that we Muslims massacred and killed the family of our own Prophet,
Yes.
and we are lecturing people about Islamophobia.
Imagine that. We have not yet acknowledged our own criminal intent.
Correct.
Not just that, this is something very controversial, and I hope I survive this show to say that. But when I read the Quran, I don't read it in the chronology in which God sent it. The first words of the revelation to Muhammad was Iqra.
Right.
Read in the name of the Lord who created you. Read and write, not pray and preach. You won't find that on page 1 of the Quran today. In fact, you have Surah Fatiha as the first one, which too is a beautiful verse, except that there is a hadith that allows the mullahs to spread hatred against Jews and Christians, and
Using that chapter.
using that hadith, and when confronted say, well, there's nothing here. But as soon as that non-Muslim is gone, or the radio mic is off, or the TV camera is off, boom, they turn around and said, the Prophet said,
Kill and butcher.
kill and butcher. Not only that, say that the wrath of Allah is on the Jews,
Right.
and the Christians are those who were led astray. That's on page 1 of my Quran.
Right.
There is a simple way out of this. If every Imam denounced and rejected the hadith, we wouldn't have a problem.
Correct.
But each one of them is lying.
yes.
Not each one of them.
The majority.
Majority.
At least those in rule.
Those in rule
Those
are.
in rule are liars. Yes.
I know some imams, I know scholars of Islam who have said, Tariq, of course what you're saying is right, but why do you have to say it?
Yes, yes. I get that a lot as well.
So-
we agree with you behind the camera,
Yes,
but in front of the
but
camera we
here's
can't.
the essence of Islam. It says, speak the truth. Even if you have to suffer, if your family has to suffer.
Right.
It's explicit in the Quran. There's no, oh, it has to be interpreted. No. And do you think today Muslims are known for speaking the truth?
In fact, no. It's even if you want to speak the truth, we've created this brand of lying for ourselves that even if you and I go out and we are speaking from the bottom of the heart, we really want the good for the countries we live in, they turn around and brand us as taqiyya and liars and so on.
Not only that, you call apostates.
Yes.
Imagine that in this country, Canada, we are proposing a law that will make me, when I say what I have said to you, worthy of death sentence. Now, some Patrick or John or Jonathan might say, well, I don't think so.
They don't know.
Well,
the
they don't.
seriousness.
They haven't lived my life.
Yes, they don't know.
They don't know what is the Muslim Brotherhood.
Yeah.
They don't know how the Iranian government operates.
Our cousins and family members being
Come on.
executed and massacred and
They
Correct.
disappear. My family's had to change my name,
yes,
their name.
they disappear, and whoever asks about them in the police
They
also
too
disappear.
The
How
chances,
do we know what's going to happen?
but the chances are even the policeman can disappear if he says, "Oh, I don't need to do this." If there's a decent police officer who says, "You know, they're hunting after you, just disappear," he will disappear.
Yes, yeah. Heads up. Anyone who wants to help the citizens, amazing. Okay, so clearly there has been a massive obstacle within the spread of the religion throughout the West, and we've fallen behind for several reasons. I'd like to elaborate. Number one, when a Muslim father raises his children, he teaches them that we are not like them.
Yes, day one.
Day one, we are not like
That
them.
we are not the kuffar.
So basically, we have closed every door of dialogue, love, peace, harmony on our own selves. And we have isolated ourselves. We like to ghettoize in certain areas and challenge the host culture.
I wouldn't mind if we ghettoize like the Warsaw Ghetto.
Right,
When we rise up against fascism.
right.
I have a problem when we ghettoize so that we can beat our daughters
Yes,
and take them to Buffalo Airport, fly them over to
Marry
Pakistan or
cousins.
Bangladesh and marry their cousins.
30 years their senior and so on.
There's one Afghani child, I'm saying child, 6-year-old, she gets married.
Right.
Then husband dies. His younger brother. Then he dies. Third husband, she's on a third husband.
Terrible. I am dealing with a case right now in my office where a 13-year-old girl from Melbourne, Australia, was taken to Iraq, married off to her cousin. 3 children from him. He's 31. He was brought to Australia and basically received the Australian citizenship, and then now there's a divorce. She's left with 3 children,
Yeah.
and boom,
That's
he's
the best way to
sleeping
get
around.
citizenship.
Yeah, it is.
And
exactly.
the first day someone's brought from Pakistan to Canada as the husband, his main problem is, I could put it, I would love to put it in Urdu or Punjabi. क्यों बैठी थी उस लड़की बस के अंदर? Why did you sit in the bus with that man?
Right. So he brings the culture from home.
He starts with this. He starts with the assumption that every woman in the West is quote unquote loose character. That's quite a Indian Pakistani word. Some people laugh at it.
Right.
But the starting premise is that women are the creators of lust, rape. They are the one, the aura,
Right.
from which we get the word aurat in Hindi and Urdu. They are responsible for everything wrong which is done by the men.
Right.
And the tragedy is that up to the 1980s and 90s, the left in Britain or Australia or Canada would be the ones who would stand up against this misogyny. Today,
they are the ones who are enabling it.
I'll give you an example just from day before yesterday. I support the NDP, which is a left-wing political party over here. I served with Bob Rae, who was the first NDP premier. Now, from 1990 to 2018, here's the difference. When Bob Rae was the NDP premier, he embraced Salman Rushdie against the hatred of all the mullahs. When the new leader of the NDP yesterday wanted to be introduced, she asked a hijabi woman to introduce her.
Right.
The very people who wanted Salman Rushdie dead, in the same 20-year period, the left has declined from standing up for Salman Rushdie to today asking hijabi women who are known Sharia supporters to introduce their leader and to suggest Tommy Douglas is a right-wing fanatic for having stood up for free speech. We've traversed that entire spectrum in the post-Cold War of decimating the very people who stood up for free rights.
Right.
I'm not sure. I'm sure in Australia you have these problems too.
We do. I'm going to ask you a question just before we go on a break. Do you think the isolation of Muslims within the Muslim community has actually caused them to think that in order for us to catch up, we need to infiltrate? So have they become stronger in infiltration, or has the West become weaker?
The current thought in the Islamist camp, which is the Muslim Brotherhood, on the Sunni side and pro-Khomeini on the Shia side, is to blend in, not to integrate.
Right.
There's something very evil about the notion of blending in.
Blending in is hypocrisy.
No, not as hypocrisy. It is trying to hurt and deceive your host.
Correct.
Okay? We didn't come into Canada to tell them how to open their doors and then lecture them how they should arrange their living room furniture.
Correct.
We need to be saying thank you. Instead, what we are doing is through infiltration in all political parties, whether it's the Conservative,
yes,
whether it's the Liberals or the left-wing New Democrats. Everyone in their mind have played the racism of lower expectations. They think of us as circus animals. They've bought the frontline streets, now they want to see diversity as if it's a spectacle. It's fireworks.
Yeah.
So here goes the hijabi, there goes the mullah, this one's got no mustache, that one's got his pajamas up his ankles. Oh, how diverse are we? Oh, how diverse are we? White guilt and cowardice is being hidden under a burqa of wisdom. The people who are the most spineless and have no courage whatsoever just put on an act and say, oh, how wise of me. If this group of people were running Canada, the United States, and Britain or France, Hitler would today have some of his sons or grandsons ruling us, and we would all be the slaves, and the Jews would have disappeared. This generation is oblivious of what their grandfathers gave up for freedom and free speech. And Muslims are playing a rotten role in trying to cover up every ill that they do by playing the one card they have.
Victim.
Victimhood.
Right.
I am the victim.
I am the victim.
I am the victim.
Yes.
I am the victim. Look at me, I am the victim.
Correct. We will come back to that victim card, which clearly has played a big role within North America and around the world as well, after this very short break.
पिछले 10 सालों में इंडस हॉस्पिटल ने ये कभी नहीं सोचा कि कैसे चलेगा ये अस्पताल जहां हो बिल्कुल मुफ्त मेयारी इलाज। सोचा है तो खुदा की रजा का, जिसने बनाया है आपको वसीला इंडस हॉस्पिटल का। 11 अस्पताल, सैकड़ों क्लिनिक्स के साथ इंडस हॉस्पिटल अब पाकिस्तान के 41 डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स में। इसीलिए ज़रूरी है आपका साथ।
क्या आप जानते हैं कि एक हदीस के मुताबिक खजूर की एक खास किस्म अजवा की गुठली तवानाई बख्श होने के अलावा दिली अमराज से बचाव और शफायाबी के लिए भी अक्सीर है। ये बात अब जदीद साइंसी तहकीक से भी साबित हो चुकी है। ग्रीनिश नेचुरल हेल्थ लाया आपके लिए आला तरीन अजवा खजूर की गुठलियों से तैयार करदा पाउडर बॉन केयर। इस रमजान में सहर और इफ्तार के वक्त बॉन केयर को अपनी मामूल में शामिल कीजिए और रमजान के बाद भी इसे अपनी खुराक का हिस्सा बनाए रखिए। बॉन केयर, अ प्रोडक्ट ऑफ ग्रीनिश नेचुरल हेल्थ।
Welcome back, dear guests. I am joined with my dear guest Tarek Fatah, and we shall continue where we left off. Okay, so we spoke about the victim card. What happens when Muslims play the victim card and it doesn't work? Recently, we've seen in the UK a man by the name of Tommy Robinson, who was arrested, and I have never seen such a swift court case where he's in the streets in 1 minute, 3 hours later he's in prison for the next 13 months. What exactly drives the justice system in the UK to somehow justify such an arrest, knowing very well that if this arrest is made, only one group of people will win, and that is the radical jihadis within London?
Well, I would not be surprised if every level of British society is compromised by infiltration of the Muslim Brotherhood, primarily by the Pakistani Britons, the same people who have been convicted of rape and grooming of white teenagers.
Right.
Some of the relatives are police officers, some are city councillors. London city itself is now ruled by His Eminence the Ayatollah of London, Sadiq Khan, under whose regime crime has shot up,
Right.
and knife crimes have shot up, but the left wants to lick his feet.
Right.
And so in Tommy Robinson's case, for people who don't know what happened, the Pakistani Britons who were being brought to the court for sentencing or hearing of having groomed and then raped hundreds of white teenage girls.
In this city alone?
This city alone.
Yes.
In connivance with their fathers, their mothers, their brothers and sisters. Why? Because certain reading of the Sharia says that the non-Muslim women, the whole notion of take what your right hand possesses is applied in this region. So we've got kuffar, infidel, young girls, vulnerable, being raped by men, Muslim men of Pakistani origin, inspired by that jihadi zeal of raping non-Muslim women. Robinson comes there outside the court. He's not inside. He's only looking at
in the street.
In the street. I saw that whole thing live.
In the street.
He's reading. He's speaking to an iPhone and broadcasting it live, and he is shouted at by these prisoners being taken in. Foul language, 4-letter words are being thrown at him.
They threatened to rape his mother.
Yes, I didn't want to say that. And yet, within, I think 5 minutes, 7 police officers come.
Taxpayer money?
I don't even know if it's taxpayer money or not. Even if they came from Mars, I wouldn't care. But British bobbies of police are sent to diffuse a situation, to investigate what has happened, and then take action. I have never, ever seen a Gestapo type police come. Almost reminded me of how I was arrested in 1968. Cops come, pick you up, throw you in a police van, never telling him what he is doing wrong. They take him in, and within 3 hours, there's already a judge sitting there who sentences Tommy to 13 months in prison for having spoken to an iPhone.
Right, and he wasn't the only one there. There were many other people outside.
Oh yes, there were, but this was targeted Gestapo-like fascist cops that were acting. Why? Because the Labour Party, the Conservatives, your Prime Minister, the Brexit in and Brexit out, the Save the Whale guys, the polar bear are dying people, everyone and his uncle and aunt want to look the other way and want to look champions and diversity. And what better way to be diverse than to embrace the ideas that you can be picked up and jailed for having done nothing other than speak to an iPhone. These are Pakistani techniques, these are Egyptian techniques, these are Iranian techniques, these are German, Mussolini and Hitler techniques adopted in 5 minutes and displayed to the world. And it tells you how Western civilization is decaying from its core.
Right. If I may comment, I actually think that if Tommy Robinson, because the other side, the rapist, was a Muslim, if Tommy Robinson was actually tried in a Sharia court in London,
he would have gotten a better deal.
A warning. They would sentence him with a warning.
Depends if he was a Muslim.
Well, that's why I said the
If he converted to Islam and got away, he'd get scot-free. If he came as a kuffar,
right,
then the
judge,
the judge would use one of those the goat ate my Quran revelations and stone him to death.
Right.
There are multiple ways.
Speaking of stoning people to death, and of the goat ate my Quran issue. Firstly,
I'm not kidding.
No,
this
we're
is
not
a
kidding
hadith.
either. Yes, I have it here. I'm going to show you. Yes, no, I brought it with me. The only thing is, before we move on, I really hope that Tommy Robinson is safe. And all I have to say is
they might poison him.
Should anything happen to Tommy, you need to understand Tommy Robinson is not an individual. He's a movement. He's an ideology. And if you want to light up the volcano, there'll be many other Tommy Robinsons out there to take his place. Coming back to stoning. In Australia, I came out on the Bolt Report, a very prominent show on Sky News hosted by Andrew Bolt. And I said that...
I like the name, by the way.
Yes.
Bolt.
And I said, that's his surname. And I said that in Islam, we have monkey teachings.
Okay.
I said that openly. No one had ever said that in the history of Australian media.
And lived to tell the
tale.
And
lived. I came out and I said, we have in our most sacred books, the first sacred book outside the Quran, the Bukhari.
Yes.
That we have monkey teachings. The left media, the ABC, came out and said that what I was saying is outrageous and there's something wrong with me and crazy and lies and no such thing. So I have it here with me today. It's from Sahih Bukhari, volume 5, book 58, the hadith number 188. And let me clarify, this is sacred scripture. This isn't some newspaper document. This is sacred scripture.
But sacred only because a mullah said it is sacred.
Yeah, only because a mullah published this book.
Yeah. Otherwise, there is no reference in Islam to follow this.
No. There's no reference. Just a man who lived after the Prophet wrote this book, and clearly had connections with dynasties, and this became sacred scripture. And even the sects that don't consider it sacred, like the Shia Muslims, if you insult this book, the Iranian regime will take you to court because it's let's say, crossing the lines with respecting other people's books. But I'm just going to read. I'm not going to comment or anything. I want you to comment for me. This is what I told the Australian people, and this is what I got in trouble for. It clearly says that a man by the name of Amr bin Maymoon said, now pay attention, I saw a she-monkey, a female monkey, surrounded by a number of monkeys. They were all stoning it because it had committed illegal sexual intercourse. Then I too stoned it along with them. So in monkey teachings, and it's
But there were no
authentic.
monkeys in Arabia.
What were the monkeys doing in Arabia to begin with?
Yeah.
Secondly, since when did monkeys need to go propose and buy rings and
Yeah,
have
but the point is, there are no monkeys and there are no cows in Arabia.
right.
This obviously means the guy has written this after Islam entered India.
Right.
The first monkeys Arabs saw
Were the ones
from my country. That's where
Okay.
monkeys are from. There are no monkeys in Arabia.
at that time. Exactly, they wouldn't
There
trade
would
with
be.
monkeys.
Yeah, of course
There
not.
was no monkey trade.
No.
It was all horses and stallions
Yeah.
and swords.
Monkeys
So,
can't be traded anyway.
yeah, you can't trade them anyway. But Yazid, one of the caliphs, had them as pets, in exceptions. But now, a monkey is supposed to have legal and permitted sexual intercourse.
I know this.
So now, this you're laughing now. Why isn't this in the Quran? Why isn't the verse
Because
of
they
stoning?
should be expunged from. It is very easy, Sheikh. It is very easy for Muslims who are educated to come to a consensus and say, we are being laughed at by the rest of the world
Yeah, this is a joke.
because of monkeys. But the hadith that I was talking about is where Bibi Aisha says that when the Prophet passed away,
Yes.
there was a scramble in the house and there was a revelation of how to stone adulterers to death, and the goat came and ate it.
Yes.
So part of the Quran got eaten up by a goat, and we have no evidence except for a hadith that says that this was done. Now, even the discussion we are having, I can assure you, is not being had anywhere.
no way.
Even when the rooms are closed, the locks are turned, between families, people get heart attacks just talking about this. This is what we've rendered the faith of the great man who crossed the Baghdad river and said, An al-Haq, An al-Haq,
Right.
An al-Haq. The traditions in Islam of cognitive thinking, of challenging, of discussing whether it's a revealed book or a written book during the Mutazalite times. What we were able to accomplish 1,000 years ago, today the PhDs in North America, United States and Canada cannot touch upon it. Their entire Islam is wrapped up in a hijab, a niqab or a mustacheless beard.
Right. And also there's other things happening in university
I have a
atmospheres.
question for you.
Yes.
Why isn't the Quran in its proper collation, in its chronology of revelation? Why are we deprived of this fact?
There is a very solid opinion that it's not in its proper.
No, we know for a fact it's not.
Yeah.
Because the last verse is not the last, and the first is not the first.
When it comes to the Shia, they say that there are many verses that were there clarifying the rights of the Ahlul Bayt, the family of the Prophet.
Yes.
And they're not there. There are certain verses after the one which you mentioned, after the last Hajj, the last pilgrimage of the
Yes.
Prophet Muhammad,
Yes.
where he clearly said that my path is Ali. After
Yes.
I have I have revealed Islam as a religion upon you, and I have completed my favor upon you, and so on. And that Islam is now the religion that I accept for you. Many say that, and that the verse after it would be the verse directing them to Ali. Now,
But that's the Shia version.
Why they say that is basically because the Uthman was the one that compiled the Quran.
Yeah, but he destroyed or burnt 300 other
He
copies.
did. He did. And also with many other issues, such as that the successors of Prophet Muhammad, they read the same Quran. Therefore, they've sort of erased that question mark on its authenticity.
Didn't Ali go to Usman and say
He did.
that I have the collation according to chronology?
He did, and that's where the Wahhabis refer to it as Quran Ali, the book of Ali and the book
Really?
of Fatima. Yes, because Ali and Fatima, whenever the revelation would come, they would have notes and they would write alongside. But they only wanted the copy of Abu Huraira.
One of the, I would consider him a fairly mischievous man.
Yes. Abu Huraira lived with the Prophet for 6 months. He
And
produced.
I think if he wrote every day and night,
he wouldn't have this many.
isn't he
traditions.
also the author of the Ghazwa Hind?
I think so. I'm not sure.
But this is, imagine that. You put all of the Islamic world on permanent warpath with India.
Indeed. Let's speak about Ghazwa Hind and wrap up with that because time is somewhat catching up. Now, the Ghazwa Hind issue, clearly, I believe anyone that uses it today is inciting
Hatred.
terrorism, paving the way for terrorism.
But everyone is.
Yeah,
Every Imam in India and Pakistan,
they should be charged.
they believe it.
They can
The
believe.
Pakistan military's foundation document is that. Ghazwa Hind.
Yes, and
Jihad fi sabilillah.
Yes.
Ghazwa Hind. That is what is the principle, the basis of the Pakistan military.
yeah, I've spoken to many Indian friends, and they believe that the creation of Pakistan in itself
Is part, yes,
is part of
Ghazwa Hind.
of Ghazwa Hind.
Yeah, but they are not ashamed of it.
Right.
They believe that Pakistan was created when Islam was created.
Impossible.
No, but doesn't mean impossible. These are people who believe that there was no moon landing. So let's not talk about what happens in Pakistan. This is one of the sorriest states that ever existed on earth. It is an acronym.
Right.
In 5,000 years, there has never been a place based on an acronym, except, you remember the UAE?
Yes.
It splintered in what, 30 seconds? United Arab Republic of Egypt and Syria didn't last 10 seconds. This cursed creation by the northern Indian Muslims and imposed on what is today Pakistan, people who never wanted Pakistan, is primarily there to re-enter India and destroy India,
Expand.
recapture Delhi,
Right.
and reinstall the tyrants like Tamerlane, like Aurangzeb, like the invaders, like all the people who came and raped and razed India are celebrated by Indian Muslims as the heroes. So behind it is this Ghazwa Hind hadith, and there is not a single imam among, you know, these Muslims are 50% of the Muslims of the world, the Bangladesh, India, Pakistan Muslims. There's not one willing to say that I reject this.
Wow. Shocking.
And saying until every temple is destroyed in India,
Yes.
our return flight to paradise will not work. The Ghazwa Hind and the attack on Rome by Rome.
Then our mission on earth is
as
complete.
complete. Yawm Akhirat will come.
Yes.
The world will come to an end.
And the Savior-
Alhamdulillah, the Savior will take us in a big rocket train all the way to wherever we are supposed to go, where 72 virgins will be waiting for every one of us.
What do you think of the 72 virgins?
Why 72? I can't figure this out.
I don't know.
Yani, the stupidity of it is like an embarrassment.
Yes.
And people are dying for it.
You know, I think
And they could be male virgins. How do I end up with 72 male virgins?
let's assume they are female virgins.
Well, no.
For argument's sake.
Okay.
Yeah,
What am I
let's
going to do with it? And then, have you seen the lectures where say each sexual encounter will be 72 hours?
Yes, 72 hours and.
And as soon as you finish, another woman will tap on your shoulder. He says, "What about my rights?" I mean, this is serious stuff. This is not
It
joke.
is. People are dying for this.
Well, non-Muslims think
We're
this is a
laughing,
joke.
but people are dying to achieve this is serious stuff.
They believe the notion that life begins after death
Yes, yeah.
is deeply embedded in the soul of every Muslim nationalist. I'm not saying orthodox religious Muslims, but every Muslim nationalist. By Muslim nationalists, I mean people like Muhammad Ali Jinnah or Jamal Abdel Nasser, you know, or Saddam Hussein, who never knew how to pray or go anywhere. They would have bacon and beer and, you know, 72 virgins on earth, and then believe that actual life begins after you die.
Yes. They see death as a new birth.
That is the birth, because that is permanent life.
Yes.
You're either going to burn in hell forever.
Because there are stages, the stage of the hereafter, Judgment Day, and then you go
I know one thing, Michelangelo, according to them, is still being burned, because the hadith about picture makers in the in Ibn Taymiyyah's first book of Tawhid.
Yes.
Kitab al-Tawhid, he says.
I got nothing to do with that book.
No, he says every picture maker, which means Van Gogh, Picasso, all these Mughal miniatures, Persian painting,
Barbie.
all of them are being roasted in hell as we speak.
Wow.
Just imagine Michelangelo waving out to Van Gogh, says, "What's happening?" He says, my roasting's never ending.
Amazing.
This is nonsense.
The way I see it, and I've never said this before, I just think it's, assuming they are 72 female virgins, I just think it's absolutely disgusting for a man to want to go through that 72 times. Like, you must be really sick in the head to be looking forward for such a thing.
I don't think it's the virgins that makes them go there. I think it's the frustration in not being able to accomplish anything on earth in the last 500 years that is the driving point.
They just want to get out of
From
here.
this mug, to this television camera, to those lights, to the wristwatch we are wearing, to the cloth that we are wearing, to our spectacles. There is nothing in this room that a Muslim can say, that is my contribution.
But you know what they will say?
Reinvented them.
No. No. I really want to stop you there, and I want to clarify something. You're right. The television, the camera, none of this.
Electricity.
Yeah, none of it could have been made without algebra.
Okay, good.
Wait, no. Let me finish.
Yeah, but it's from India.
I know.
All of the number system, every letter, every number in the
Indian.
Quran is an Indian Hindu number.
Is an Indian number. Now, I'm trying to
Play the devil's advocate?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is what they do, right? So they say everything you see, the airplanes when they fly, the physics, all of this,
We did it.
Muslim physicists, astronomers, mathematicians were behind it. You know what I say? I say, really, name me one Muslim scholar that you really honor and respect in the
That you
history.
didn't kill.
Yeah, ever seen
Everyone.
Yeah, all of them.
All of them got killed.
All of them
Ibn Rushd.
All of
Ibn
them.
Rushd, the founder of sociology.
Yes.
Was
All of them. Every Muslim thinker,
declared a kafir.
when they were alive, were killed. When they die, we
Then he is honored. But look at Ibn Rushd. Averroes had to run away from Spain.
Yes.
Then he's running to Morocco. Then they throw him out to Egypt. The poor guy didn't have a place to live.
And we chase our scholars when they're alive to kill
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
When they die, we say, oh, we had amazing scholars.
What's the name of a guy who's said Anal Haq? I keep Mansoor Halaj.
Mansoor.
Okay. The guy was deeply spiritual in what he said when he said, I am the truth. He never said that I am the creator. But they used an attribution to say, when he was saying, I am the truth, they said, that means you're saying you're God. And he won't change anything. And look at the courage of the man. He was beheaded. The caliph told him, I'll let you go. They amputated his arms the night before and then chopped his. This is in Baghdad during a highest level of our civilization.
Yeah.
And we have no account. You know, it just bothers me. I'll tell you how bad things are in a common sense in India, Pakistan. Do you know some of the greatest philosophical poets that in what is today Pakistan is a Punjabi poet, Bulleh Shah, and a Sindhi poet, Bhitai. You will not find anyone who has named their kids after these people.
Wow.
One of the greatest Mughal emperors was in Lahore. His name is Dara Shikoh. And he translated Hindu texts into Persian and got them translated into French and sought the unity of all. There's not one person whose first name is Dara in Pakistan. They all are
hate. Why that hate?
I think
Rejection.
they like, you think my parents named me Tarek because of some saintly thing that Tarek had done? He had invaded Spain. So my father, probably in his own incompetencies, must have said, oh, I couldn't invade Spain, so my son will do it. You know what my brother's name is? Mahmoud, from Mahmoud Ghaznavi.
Wow.
So, you know the Bollywood actress.
Yes.
Mother is Hindu, wife is Hindu, named his son Taimur.
Taimur.
The guy who built pyramids of skulls and reduced the world's population by 5% in one lifetime.
Taimur.
Taimur.
We have many Taimurs in our mosque.
We
do. I had an imam.
Must be Pakistani.
Yeah, in fact he was. Yeah,
Pakistanis will pick the worst killers
and name their children
after him. The rapist, the only person who destroyed the city of Lahore, Abdali.
Yes.
Devastated Muslims. We Pakistanis named our rockets Abdali.
What a disgrace.
Yeah, but they don't know anything. They banned their own mother tongue. Can you imagine an Arab saying, I am today going to ban Arabic? Pakistani said, oh, wonderful, we're going to ban Punjabi from our National Assembly.
And use Urdu.
Or use Urdu, which came from our enemy, India. Like, you cannot make a worse Saturday Night Live episode than the creation and the living of Pakistan.
Wow.
Abdali, Taimur, Aurangzeb, the guy who killed most of the Sikhs.
It's like everything revolves around death and destruction. And
if it is good for you, it's got to be bad for you. It reminds me of that Canadian cough mixture which says, it's so bitter in taste, it must be good for you. Buckley's.
Yeah. Now, speaking of Pakistan, Pakistan has... how many nukes do they have?
200.
200 nukes?
200 nukes.
And why are they facing Tel Aviv?
Because the Israelis think that anything east of Iran is exotic, monkeys flying, dragons, Pakistan, too big a name for them to pronounce, Hindustan even more. So for the Israeli, east of Iran is Goa, Bali, the Delhi railway station. I went to Israel 3 times looking for any research done by any Israeli on Pakistan. Zero.
Right.
They are more concerned about Iran that doesn't have a catapult. We will not let them. But right on the border, 10 miles away, are 200 nukes. And you know what the Pakistanis are fooling the world with? Oh, our nukes are aimed at Nicobar Islands near Jakarta, which is India's territory.
But that is not true.
No, you take the compass.
Correct.
And you know it is exactly 3,000 miles away, the heart of Tel Aviv.
Right.
So Pakistani nukes, paid for by the Americans, designed, sold by the Dutch.
As in American foreign funding?
Of course. Well, where else do you fund?
But
you think
Trump
has just come here. Trump is fighting all around for.
Right. So Trump has come after these nukes were made and established, and
you have to understand. 1947, Pakistan's great leader Quaid-e-Azam Jinnah. I know we're going over time, but you have to understand. Ask America for $5 billion, 1947. They send him a check for $10,000. What does he do next? He says, we will go to the Soviet Union, we will go to the USSR, and we will make sure. The Americans say, okay, how much do you need? What will you go for? So they give him $100 million and all the leftover junk from the Korean War.
Right.
All of American armaments after the ceasefire line was drawn was dumped in Pakistan, including 112 F-86 Sabre jet fighters. Dumped there, Pakistan joined what is equivalent to NATO, SEATO and CENTO, the Southeast Asia Treaty Organization and the Central Treaty Organization, which included Iran under Shah, the Turks and Pakistanis. And the Americans got the base in Diyarbakir from where U-2 jets flew over the Soviet Union. Who pocketed the money? The Pakistani generals. Where was the deal made to overthrow the elected government? In Ottawa, by a gentleman known as General Ayub Khan under NATO. So the Americans built up this Pakistan military, not realizing that when the Russian war against Russia would come, every whiskey drinking general will have to be converted into a Mullah general. And today the Pakistan military, the most corrupt in the world, many of the generals live in Canada with changed names.
Shocking.
They are all here.
Shocking.
There are ISI operators with grade 19 self-confessed government of Pakistan employees living in the political circle. A 1-hour audio tape has been released.
Wow.
But people don't bother to understand Urdu, Punjabi. They are there.
The same with the regime of Saddam Hussein. Many of his officials now live around Canada, America, Australia.
But Saddam Hussein knew that, came from Cairo by the CIA.
Yes.
Saddam had other interests. Khomeini also came via Air France.
Right.
We shouldn't forget this. The deeds of the West are coming home to roost, as Malcolm X said.
Right.
So if you are pushing Pakistan with money, because India is developing close relations with the Soviet Union, and now that the Soviet Union has disappeared and Russia has emerged as a separate oligarchical dictatorship, what do you have? A country beholden to anyone who pays them. It's like concubines. If America doesn't pay, they'll go to Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
If Saudi Arabia doesn't pay, currently they are under rule by China. China has even introduced pork in Pakistan and importing donkey meat, which means that donkey skins, which means Pakistanis are eating donkey flesh, while the donkey skin is getting imported into China for aphrodisiacs.
But that's very shocking. I mean, donkeys would be somewhat respected in Pakistan because
donkeys in Africa and Pakistan are disappearing, which means that the farmers now don't have the people who used to take brick from brick kilns to elevator. There is no, the mode of transportation has disappeared.
They've become kebab.
They are being sold as kebabs and niharis and everything, and rich Pakistani weddings are being served with donkey meat.
There was an incident in Iraq where a police officer captured a restaurant owner in Basra, Iraq, southern Iraq, and he was selling donkey meat.
It must be a Pakistani immigrant.
So he said to him, "Why are you selling donkey meat?" So the Iraqi said to the police officer, "Now you're coming, you ate from this, your dad ate from it, and your wife and your whole family have been eating here. Now you've realized it's donkey meat, so arrest me if you like." So yes, the corruption is there.
But in the case of Pakistan, it's a nuclear armed country,
Yes.
with no controls, where an elected prime minister has been overthrown, where today, just today, while we are talking, the Taliban, armed by the Pakistan military, attacked the Pashtun national movement of Manzoor Pashtun. 10 people died.
Shocking.
On a peaceful Pakistan military sends Taliban to kill Pakistanis.
Wow.
You've created a monster, and they look so submissive when they meet Western politicians. Their hands are tied up like this, they got a sheepish smile. They even are willing to get strip searched at airports. The Prime Minister of Pakistan, well, when you are willing to get strip searched, I was on a private visit. Are you private visit? You're the Prime Minister of Pakistan? Shame on you. But you have to understand, when Pentagon wanted to find out the Pakistani general who was running the fertilizer factory, which had the marks on all IEDs that killed Americans, they couldn't locate him in Pakistan. Guess what? He was an American citizen.
Wow.
He lives in the US.
Wow. This is absolutely...
You should watch that movie, White Men Can't Jump.
Yes, yes. Very shocking how these things are happening, and you will not be allowed to speak on...
Oh, no.
No, you're not allowed.
I just hope Tech TV doesn't get shut down.
No, this channel is fine. all what I'm saying is that we have been fed a lie that there is freedom of speech.
Oh, my God.
And under that banner of freedom of speech, many have been arrested. Many honest politicians, great activists, independent citizen journalists have been arrested. And behind the scenes, we have paved the way for terrorists, radicals, corrupt politicians to rise into power.
In the West.
In the West.
Yeah.
Especially in regions such as Iran and Pakistan. I mean, who took Khomeini on a plane to the French?
Yeah.
The French did. And they will have to pay.
They let him live in France.
Yes, protected.
And when he was protected by Saddam Hussein in Iraq, we're all aware of that. What they did with the Kurds, we are aware of that. There is so much to it. But why should we complain about the Islamic countries? Here in this country, I have written for Time magazine, the Globe and Mail, the Toronto Sun. I write a regular column for the Toronto Sun. Thank goodness for the Sun. Many of the networks have put me on a no-fly list.
Wow.
I even once hosted the TVO's agenda. I'm on a no-fly list. You can just generate 1,000 emails, will go to the editor and say this man is spreading Islamophobia. Boom, you're dead. Anyone. Today, for example, in the Toronto Star, you can only write as a Muslim if you are demonstrating anti-American attitude.
Linda Sarsour type of Islam.
Yes. Or you are a hijabi, or you are saying that you have you are a victim of Islamophobia. Yeah. Anyone. No one else can write a column in the country's biggest newspaper. It happened in the Globe and Mail. It, I think to a certain degree, happened in some other papers as well. Wow. Many of the writers who used to write and debate this as Muslims against right-wing Muslims who are from the Brotherhood today cannot write anywhere in Canada. If the Toronto Sun and the Post media tomorrow would say, sorry, we can't keep up with the heat, there are too many complaints, there would be no voice for us.
Right, complete censorship.
Complete.
I've just been banned from Facebook.
I read that.
My page
because
unpublished.
An idiot couldn't understand your sense of humor.
Yes. It was just, all I did was call Hamas a global charity organization.
But before that, you quoted them, and I'm sure these guys who were checking thought that you were saying that.
Right.
You have to give credit to how dumb people can be.
Yes.
You have to work very hard to be stupid.
This part will be cut.
Yes.
And placed online that I was actually being sarcastic, but I have to give credit to how dumb people can be.
You have to work very hard, Imam, to be stupid.
Yes.
We have entire countries that are working 24/7 just to keep up with the demand of idiots coming out. And you can't fulfill the demand.
Yeah, there was no room for me to explain or appeal to Facebook, but I guess we have reached the end of our show today. Thank you very much for joining us. This is Mullah versus Allah. I am your host, Imam Tawhidi, and our dear guest was Tarek Fatah. Goodbye.